My name is Lynette, and I am the recovery coach for World Without Wine. Wow. Every time I say that, I have to kind of pinch myself because 3 years ago, my reality was very, very different. I was depressed. I was so fed up with myself. I was just, my life was virtually in the toilet. That's the best way to put it. And so was my head, most mornings. So here I am on a Saturday morning, 3 years later, and everything has changed. I can't believe it. And I remember 3 years ago, one of the things that I always said and I wished for was that I could just stop my desire to want to drink. I just wanted it to go away. I don't want it to ever feel that intense desire to drink. I wanted to just be rid of it. I wanted to be free of it. I wanted to have freedom from it. And I used to think that I just gave up the wine. That's all I need to do. If I stop drinking, then it'll go away. And it somehow didn't. And then I came across a 4-step process taught by Brooke Castillo and Rachel Hart. They both delve into this. And I then also really ingested it. I lived it, I tried it, and it worked. And today I have zero desire for alcohol. It is amazing. Even last year when I was in France and we were going to the vineyards and everybody was doing their wine tasting, I had zero desire. And looking back on that journey, and what I realized along the way was that what I was looking for wasn't just the freedom from alcohol, it was actually peace. So what is this 4-step process that I'm so excited to share with you? This 4-step process is about pausing, watching and listening, neutralizing, and then traveling into the future. Or as we often say, play the movie forward. And what we want to unlearn is the habit of desire. So this absolute urge that we have to drink, because a lot of my clients come to me, as I did, and say, I can't help myself. I have this urge, and then I just have to drink. So 5 o'clock comes, I go home, and 5 o'clock comes, and I pour my glass of wine. It's automatic. I just want to drink. So how did this come about? And to take a step back, I like to talk about a scientist called Pavlov, who in the late 1800s did an experiment with his team around dogs. They noticed that these dogs used to drool before they got their food. So then what they did is they paired a bell with the food, and every time they did that, the dogs drooled, and they actually measured the drool inside their mouths. And then what they did is that they would ring the bell, and they wouldn't give the food, and the dogs still drooled. And this was a way that they started to teach dogs certain behaviors. And I think even today they use this method to train animals to perform for circuses, for example. But we are not animals. But we also have the drool. So what actually really happens is that at 5 o'clock, when you come home, that's your bell, and then the drool starts. So we have to interrupt that bell and that drool. And how do we do it? We do it through pausing. So what is pausing? I'll tell you what it's not. It's not trying to just distract yourself or trying to white knuckle through an uncomfortable feeling. When we pause, it actually gives us the moment to create a space. It creates a space between that urge, that drool, and the automatic taking in of the wine. So when we create that space, we are able to observe. And this is also a technique that comes in with mindfulness. And in fact, the Buddhists and the Eastern philosophers and gurus have been speaking about this for a long time. They always say that we need to be able to observe ourselves. We need to step back and become the observer, become the scientist. And we can only do this when we pause. When we pause in the moment and we say, okay, what is really going on for me now? And we become curious. So the next step is then, when we do the pause and we create the space, we can go into what I call our think, feel, act cycle. We can go and examine and get curious about our thoughts. So we watch and we listen. What's really going on in our mind right now? What is the drama here? So for me, I used to say, I can't stand this. It is absolutely terrible. I hate this feeling. It is so uncomfortable. This is hard. This is unfair. I want that drink. I want it now. And when I got curious about it and I tried this step and I watched those thoughts, I started to understand that our thoughts trigger our feelings and our feelings drive our actions. Even though I'd read about this, it had never really landed for me as to how do I really engage with this cycle? How do I really get to listen to my thoughts? How do I really get to understand how my thoughts drive my feelings into actions? And this is a beautiful skill to learn. And we can learn it by really observing and staying with our urge, staying with that rule. We become the objective observer. And then the next step we need to do is we need to now neutralize it, because now there's all these thoughts, there's all these feelings, and what people say to me is it just feels so awful. So how can I go from this intense feeling and turn down the volume? And this is the key. If it feels so terrible, then we can also locate it in our body. So the technique here is to really drop into the feeling, into the total discomfort of it. Locate it, feel it, let it go. And if you want to try at this point to bring in the breathing techniques, where you can really breathe into that feeling, and then you breathe it out and you release it. So, and it often helps to do like a deep in-breath. Breathe it in, the discomfort, and then a long out-breath. And just notice what happens. It's quite amazing that slowly but surely that intensity dials down. What I found so exciting is that I've had clients say to me, well, we did this, and guess what? I just felt like a little bit of restlessness, and maybe I'm doing it wrong. No, you're doing it absolutely right. And that is the key. What we learn to understand is that our mind makes up this huge story around we have to have that drink, and we can't bear this feeling, but when we actually drop into the feeling, it's actually not really that terrible. It's something that we can totally be with, and it isn't going to kill us. So often one explanation that I heard about it that I thought is like really so apt, it's like a young child having a tantrum. A young child having a tantrum just wants what it wants. It doesn't care whether it's good for us, or good for them, but we as the adult can observe and say, no, you can't have it because it's not really good for you. And the child eventually gives up on the tantrum and doesn't die. So it's the same with us. When we give into our urges, we are like giving into our tantrum, into our toddler brain. And who wants to make decisions based on that? That means that we are totally powerless. We just have to have what we want. But that is why it's so important to go into using our logical brain, our observer brain, our mommy brain, as Janet likes to call it. And I love the analogy that Janet uses, like when we start to drink, the mommy brain moves out, and the mom moves out, and the crazy aunt moves in. And this is really what happens. What I find, if you just are able to use these 3 steps, pause, listen and watch, get into what am I thinking, what am I feeling, and then neutralizing the feeling through breath work, through being present with it, you have already mastered most of it. That is already a beautiful framework. However, what I still find is that, and even for me, that desire or that want is still there. So I've had, I remember one of my clients saying to me, yes, Lynette, so I do. I go and I don't sit with my urges, but then I think I still actually want it. And that is another key that we need to have a look at. Why do we then still want it? That means there's an underlying belief running. And if we go into the thoughts, it's often about, it's not fair. Why can't I drink? I know that was a huge one for me when I used to think, why can't I drink and everybody else? It's not fair. And the other one is that I have had such a terrible day, so I deserve it. So these are the emotions of entitlement and fairness. And what I noticed is with me and with with my clients, that we start to solve some of our emotions, the ones that we don't really like, and our beliefs with alcohol. We want to just have the reward. We just want to go into feeling happy now. And that is really another part where we can really drop into what is really going on with our beliefs and investigate them. For example, if you have the one about it's not fair, I invite you to journal around what is fair. How do you measure fairness? And when we feel entitled, are we really entitled to have whatever we want at whatever cost? No. So if we understand that and we can use our logical brain, we can evolve. We can evolve into the future that we want. We can travel into the future. And we can deal with saying no. We can say, what is the big deal with saying no? And our human brains are created to evolve. If we think about our logical brains, our prefrontal cortex, it's that part of the brain that drove us into the future that we have now, where we are able to create beautiful artwork. We have language, we have music. So that is what we're meant to do with our brains. That is how we're meant to live our human experience, not to just chase pleasure and reward. And when we are able to travel into the future, and we have choice and we feel free, that's beautiful, because we are liberated, we are at peace, we are able to steer our brain. We are not at the mercy of our urges, we are not at the mercy of our drool. And that is really, really where the freedom comes. So one of the key aspects that really, really works when you really, really want to drink, it's always a good idea to play the movie forward. On the one hand, if I have that glass of wine now, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to have another glass and another glass, and then at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be really upset with myself. I'm going to feel awful. In the morning, I'm going to have this hangover, and I'm going to have to pretend that I'm okay, and I'm just going to waste a whole day. Versus, okay, I have the choice here. I can choose a glass of wine or not. And if I choose not to drink it, I won't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I will wake up refreshed. And we do many, many, many of these, day by day by day, and suddenly 3 years later, your life can look very different. Ask me. So, in a nutshell, when you get the urge, when you get the craving, pause, listen and watch, neutralize, and travel into the future, into your beautiful future of where you can be. Peace, harmony, where you can create and live your dreams and not be at the mercy of an urge and a habit that is no longer serving you. So in closing, I just want to say that if you want to find out more or delve into this process, please contact me via the World Without Wine website. And while you're traveling to the World Without Wine website, we have a smorgasbord of beautiful options for you that can help you on your journey. We have a sober buddy, we have Take a Break for August, we have a World Without Wine workshop coming up at the end of August, which is so informative and inspiring and leaves you with so many tools to walk away from. And then we also have Saturday afternoon meetups at the Zoom Cafe, which are where we all share our stories, we encourage each other, and it's contagious. When we start getting into this tribe, it's so contagious. we are there for each other. We encourage each other and we cheer each other on, and we keep each other on track with our dreams and goals. So thank you everyone who popped in today. Let me just have a look at some comments. Okay, hi Edelweiss. And oh, hi Sue, Monica, so good to see you. Isn't it just amazing how we have to calm down our toddler? I love what you're saying here. Stop it, calm down, you're not having it. That's what I say to my toddler. And that's what we need to say to ourselves. You don't have to have it. It's okay to say no. Okay, and Sue says it sounds good with the earbuds. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Janet. Okay, and Sandy was just saying she needed a technique to cope. Yeah, with the witching hour, and this is what it's all about. Oh, hi, Marianne. Oh, everybody that's here, it's so good to see you. And I want to just wish you all the most beautiful day, a fabulous day. And next week you can listen to Janet with all her wisdom. And she's always got so much to share with us. And she's our mentor, and we just love her. And in 2 weeks' time, I'll be answering another question. So keep those questions coming, email them to us, and let me know what you would really, really like me to delve into next time. Thank you, and thank you for your patience today, and yeah, have a beautiful day. Bye, my friends.